Well, hello viewers, welcome to my garage, which is where I've been spending a lot more time during this coronavirus lockdown, which is why it's really tidy. Well, this bit anyway, it's a bit messy over there and behind the camera, but you don't need to see that. So it gave me a great idea. Now is a great time to spend some quality time on your bike, giving it some much needed TLC after the long winter we've had. And working on your bike is really therapeutic as well. It takes your mind off everything going on in this crazy world we're currently living through. So in this video, I've got some top jobs for you to occupy your time, getting your bike ready for spring and summer, and also some upgrade advice if you want to give your bike a new lease of life. Because I reckon a lot of you might be putting off buying a new bike or cancel a new bike purchase because of the current situation. So why not spend that money on some key upgrades to give your bike a new lease of life and make it feel as good as a new bike. Number one on your list of jobs to do is to give your bike a really thorough clean, and I mean a really deep clean. Get into the cassette and the chain and all mechanical moving parts and clean it with a high quality degreaser, loads on the market, and a good stiff brush, and get rid of all that gunk and mud and dirt that's built up over the winter months. Maybe go a step further and actually dismantle some of the bike as well. Take the wheels out, take the cassette off the free hub. Just get in there and clean everything as thoroughly as you can. If your chain needs upgrading, if it's showing signs of wear, now is a good time to replace that. And also inspect your cassette. Does it look worn? Maybe replace your cassette as well and get your drivetrain performing at its best. Number two on my list is to replace all the cables and the outer housing. And this is a really good step to give your bike a new lease of life and improve the shifting and the brake quality. On this bike, however, I don't need to because of hydraulic disc brakes and Shimano Di2, so nothing to replace there. But if you've got mechanical gears, mechanical brakes, now it's a good time to replace all the cables and the outer housing, and it just goes a long way to improve the quality of the shifting and the brakes. So do that, doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's quite an easy job to do as well. Three on my list is brakes. Now is a really good time of year, especially after the long winter we've had, to inspect your brake pads. Whether you're running rim brakes or disc brakes, check how much pad material is left, and if they're looking really thin, maybe it's time to replace them. And there are loads of good options on the market. So rim brakes, loads of different pad compounds to suit different conditions and conditions we have to ride through. And the same for disc brakes. There are loads of options. I've got a few here. Loads of different pad materials, sintered, organic. There's some good bias guides out on the internet. So go and check out brake pads, check out the different materials, and maybe now is a good time to try some different brake pads to suit what riding you've got planned this year. So brake pads, an essential safety piece of advice there. Check your brakes. Something you should do all the time anyway, but now especially is a good time. Another key thing to check with brakes is the braking surface itself, which on a rim brake bike is the actual rim. So check the quality of the rim. Some rims have a wear indicator, a small hole, and if it's worn to that point, then it's time to upgrade. And in the worst case scenario, the rim will be concave, and if it is concave, then it's a really good time to upgrade before that rim collapses. And trust me, that can happen, does happen, and it's pretty catastrophic when it does happen. So make sure your rims are in good quality, and if they need replacing, now is a good time to do that, and perhaps a good time to learn how to build a wheel by swapping your current hub onto a new rim. And for disc brakes, now is a good time to check the quality of your rotors, because while they do last a very, very long time, they do eventually wear out, and you can see quite easily how thin or thick they are. So if you need replacing, replace them, and perhaps consider some of the aftermarket options that are on the market to give your brakes a boost in performance. The next thing you definitely want to check on your bike are the tyres. Now we've had a really tough winter here, and if you're riding the same tyres for the last few months, they might be showing some signs of wear and tear. So whatever bike you're riding, whether it's a road bike with slick tyres like this one here, or a gravel bike with knobby tyres, now is a good time to inspect your tyres and just see how much material is left. And a lot of tyres have a wear indicator, a small hole so you can check the wear. Gravel tyres is much easier because you can go by the height of the blocks left on the tyres. So if they're looking worn, maybe it's a good time to replace them. Just maybe a good time to upgrade your tyres if you want to inject some more performance into your bike this year. For road bikes, there's loads of really good options on the market at the moment. Loads of tyre manufacturers coming out with some really good choices. Michelin, Continental, Viatora, Schwalbe, they've all got some really good high quality tyres these days. You don't have to spend a fortune, but you can, if you want to get the best performance out of your bike, spend a bit more money perhaps on a really good set of tyres. If you're running clincher tyres with inner tubes, maybe you could upgrade to latex inner tubes to save a bit of weight and improve the rolling resistance of your bike. But maybe with all that spare time we've got, now is a good time to invest in tubeless. I'm a real fan of tubeless. It minimises the risk of punctures hugely, especially when you're riding on rough roads with debris that can usually puncture a tyre. So now is a good time to check out tubeless. Most bikes being sold now have tubeless ready rims. So all you need to do is upgrade your tyres to some tubeless ready tyres, get a tubeless kit with sealant and some valves, and you're ready to go. And it's much easier these days to install tubeless tyres than it ever used to be. So maybe now is a good time to invest in tubeless if you've been putting it off. Next on my list, I think this is number 5, I lost count already, is bar tape. Bar tape gets absolutely hammered on a road bike and a gravel bike. Mud and rain, snow, salt, sweat, they get pretty horrible after a few months of use and they get damaged. There's a bit of damage on this one there, so I'm going to replace the bar tape on my bike. And this is a good time of year to do it after the long hard winter we've had. And a road bike looks so much better with some fresh bar tape on. And there are loads of good options on the market. You might have a favourite. There's a couple to consider, loads of different colours. Different types of bar tape. You get loads of different materials out there. Thickness, you have really thin or really thick depending on how much cushioning you want. So upgrading your bar tape is definitely an essential, and now is a good time of year to do it, and it's a good time to learn a new skill. And learning how to put your bar tape on is definitely a skill that all cyclists should know how to do. Another part of the bike that gets a lot of use and abuse is the saddle. Now modern saddles are really good and really durable, but they can get a bit scuffed around the edges perhaps if you've had a few crashes or offs, and they can get a bit saggy sometimes. So maybe now it's a good time to replace your saddle, either like for like, or perhaps try a different saddle. And there are loads of good saddles on the market, loads of different shapes, different widths. There's never been a better time to buy a saddle. So you might think you're comfy on your current saddle, but you might be comfier on a better saddle. So perhaps try a different saddle. And some companies do run trial schemes, so you can try a saddle before you buy it. And most saddle manufacturers now have good fit systems, like WTB have a new fit system to make it really easy to choose a saddle. And I've done that with this one. It's a Volt, which is going to fit to this bike. So I'm really keen to try a saddle because I got some, well, I did have some big Audax events planned on this bike later this year, but they've all been cancelled. Hopefully I can do them later on in the year. And saddle comfort is a priority for a long distance ride when you're looking at 10, 20, 30 hours in a saddle. So I want one with a bit more padding, which it does have compared to this fabric. So I was keen to try that. And it's just fun trying different saddles because you might find a saddle that offers an improvement in terms of comfort and fit than your current saddle. So yeah, check out the new saddles, loads on the market. I'll put a link to some buyers guides down below. Another essential upgrade at this time of year is not for the bike, but actually for your shoes, and it's the cleats. So cleats get absolutely hammered during regular use, especially walking and commuting, stopping at the lights and so on. So my cleats were looking quite worn, so I fit some brand new Shimano SPD SL cleats and they look much better. And it's quite a marked difference when you go from a worn cleat to a brand new cleat. We put a new cleat on and it feels like a brand new connection between you and the bike. And your connection, your interface between the bike and the shoe is critical to your performance on the bike. So new cleats are definitely worth doing at this time of year if you're still looking a bit worn. So quite an inexpensive upgrade, but an easy one to do as well. Those then are some of my key bits of advice for getting you through the next few weeks and spending some time on your bike, giving it some TLC, some essential upgrades to give it a new lease of life and just get it ready for spring and summer when the lockdown is hopefully lifted and we get back out on the roads and the trails. And if you've got any things you're doing to your bike, upgrades, any tips, do put them in the comment section down below. Now I put a question out on Twitter along the same lines, asking what essential cycling maintenance and upgrades can you do without leaving the house, and got some interesting replies and some quite funny ones. So James said, gain more aero efficiency by aligning your spoke nipples, which is quite a funny one for marginal gains. Polish something until it's shiny was a good tip from Richard, and that's quite a good one actually. You can get some proper bike cleaner polishes, give your frame a nice sparkle, but make sure you keep it away from the disc brakes. And he came up with a good tip, which is to replace your tyre sealant. So if you're running tubeless already, you might not know it, but your sealant might have dried out depending on when you last checked. It does dry out eventually, 3 months, 6 months, depending on the brand. So now is a good time, if you're running tubeless, just to check how much sealant you have in there. And I've been surprised in the past when I'm taking tyres off and found the sealant was dry when I thought it would be liquid. So that's something worth checking. And now a tip from Philip here says to disassemble, clean, grease and reassemble all bearings. So that's a really good one. That goes back to my first point of a deep, thorough clean on the bike. Simon said take it apart and put it back together. That's the same idea. Deep clean, pedal axles, wheel bearings, derailleur hanger, check the chain stretch, all typical stuff that gets left to the last minute. So that goes back to the first point, just checking every mechanical aspect of the bike. Take it apart, clean it, put it back together again, be good as new hopefully. So those are really good tips. So got any more tips like that, whack them in the comment section down below. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram as well. But that's all for now. Hopefully this is inspirational and motivating for you to get you through the next few weeks. I know it's going to be a tough couple of weeks, but please try not to lose hope. There will be an end to this, hopefully soon. So try and keep your motivation high, stay positive, look after your family, look after your friends, stay healthy, spend some time on your bike, and we'll soon be out cycling on the open road again soon.